Hello. Good evening, everyone. How are we doing? Hey, Queen, Top Hats, Jerry. Good to see you guys. Uh, yeah, I agree. Jerry, I am nervous that somebody was going to mess this up. I agree with you on that. But hopefully, yeah, yeah, I agree, Top Hats. Yeah. Hello, Kentucky woman. Yeah, so I guess it got a little bit crazy today in the Kohberger hearing. And so I admit I had not I have not watched the Dateline episode. So I've heard bits and pieces about what had come out. Um, we do. We do. Okay. It is very new. Hey, Debbie. Yeah, we do. It is. Yeah, this is brand new news. Um, ah, I know. I know. I definitely am not going to even let myself get by with that crap. I'm not down with that. But so I did hear that a lot of stuff had come out in the Dateline episode that nobody knew, that nobody had heard before. But to go along with that, obviously, we have been hearing a lot of things recently that we didn't know about because a lot of things were unsealed or able to be brought out. So that was, oh no, what happened? Your test this morning? Hello? Hello, hello. Oh, okay, good. Well, you'll have to. Well, let me know what's going on. Okay, where were we? Let me see. Hello, Miss Bellazoe. Good to see you. Okay, so apparently things that came out in the Dateline episode um, were a violation of the gag order. Hey, Legs. Hey, Justice Jane. Well, I don't, that's just a thing. So this was put out this afternoon. Um, well, I'm gonna play a video in a second and show you what we're not supposed to know. Well, that's just it. They had sealed almost like everything from the very beginning of this, but they had been unsealing some things. So I just assumed that was what was going on. But apparently there were still things that they were not supposed to. Yeah. Yeah. So the judge said, based on sensitive information not previously publicly circulated that was reported during a recent Dateline TV program related to this case and the defendant Brian Kohberger, it appears likely that someone currently or formerly associated with law enforcement or the prosecution team violated this court's non-dissemination order. Such violations not only undermine the rule of law potentially by persons charged with upholding it, but also significantly impede the ability to seat an impartial jury and will likely substantially increase the cost to be borne by the taxpayers of Latah County to prosecute this case by extending the time it will take to seat a jury and potentially requiring lengthy period of juror sequestration. Sorry. Right, it's not. It's exactly right. So what's happening, accordingly, the court finds it is imperative to attempt to see that the source of the leak is identified and held to account, and that doing so is the best deterrent to future violations. According to the court, Accordingly, the court finds it appropriate to exercise its discretion by entering this order. It is hereby ordered that all persons who at any time past or present worked directly or indirectly by employment, contract, consultation, or otherwise for or on behalf of any law enforcement or prosecution agency engaged in the investigation or prosecution of persons for the murders that are the subject of the instant case are hereby prohibited from deleting, discarding, overriding, destroying, altering, or otherwise making unavailable any, whether electronic or material form, records, files, documents, metadata, messages, emails, text messages, direct or private messages, phone logs or logs of communication, regardless of whether made or kept on a work-owned or personal account, device, or messaging app. Yeah, right. I know the judge is pissed. Where did that go? Oh, let me see. In that in any way relate to or document the fact or substance of communications with third persons, including representatives of the media or other persons or entities outside of law enforcement, which communications in any way relate to, refer to, or concern the investigation of Brian Kohberger, the facts or allegations uncovered or reported to law enforcement concerning Brian Kohberger, or the investigation into the homicides that are subject of the current or potential criminal prosecution of Brian Kohberger. All documents or materials or records that could potentially constitute a document, even if it is uncertain whether such meet the criteria, shall be preserved and must be protected from deletion, alteration, or loss until further order of the court. Let me see. Yep. See, that's going to be the thing. Is it's going to be whoever they determine did it, right? It is further ordered that within 7 days the state shall submit to the court in camera a list of all individuals within law enforcement and prosecuting agencies, past or present, who are known to have had access to any facts related to the investigation of defendant, including but not limited to surveillance videos, suspect vehicle 1, the AT&T records for defendant's cell phone and content of defendant's cell phone and other electronic devices, social media accounts, including internet search history, photographs, information associated with defendant's Amazon account, or any information referenced in the above mentioned Dateline episode regarding this case. The state is further required to provide a copy of this order to all such individuals, document that it is done so. Failure to comply with this order may be a basis for finding contempt of court and such other civil and criminal consequences as may be appropriate. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think something more came out though. We're gonna I was thinking the same thing, Queen. Yeah, I'm just really wondering why somebody would do this, really. Like, right, yeah. That's kind of what I thought too, but we'll look and see. There's a video, and actually, the Law and Crime Network did a show, and they talked to somebody, and this was 3 days ago before today, and they said they were very surprised at what had come out. It is obvious to you why someone would do it? Within 7 days, the state must also provide the court a written plan designed to address and prevent the future authorization disclosure of information related to this case and what it has done or proposed to do to identify any violations of the court's non-dissemination orders previously entered in this case and those responsible for such violations. Wow. Really? Well, I kept hearing that what came out on Dateline was very, really explosive, but I didn't watch the Dateline thing, but I will say that I had heard some things. I know, I know. That's what is so. I mean, the judge is not messing around. He doesn't sound very happy about this at all. But whoever did it had to have known this was not going to be okay. And I would think that Dateline would have known. I mean, Dateline can tell him who told him. See, right, right, Justice. I don't know because, yeah, yeah, he does. He does. He believes that. I don't. This law and crime thing. This attorney does go through like what he believes was not okay. Same here, Justice Jane. I kept trying to watch it, but I don't have. Yeah, and that's just the thing. Whatever, anything you want to watch, it's you have to end up getting every single one of these, you know, apps or whatever you call it. Well, listen to some of this because the attorney here, and this was before the judge came out with this, so they were already finding issues with what had come out. Because that's the thing, we have been getting information recently, so I don't think that anybody really thought that it was something that wasn't supposed to come out. But whoever did knew. Right, right. Okay, yeah. Right. Okay. Oh, see, no, they knew they were leaked. Okay, look at this actually says 9 leaked details. Wow. Okay, look at that. It says leaked details. This was 3 days ago. Wow, okay. Yikes. Yeah, right? Wow.
That's video footage of suspect vehicle 1 circling the King Road neighborhood minutes before 4 University of Idaho students were murdered. And a new report by Dateline reveals Brian Kohberger's Google searches about pornography, serial killer Ted Bundy, and the possible intended target that morning. I go through the new information. I'm Anjanette Levy, and this is Crime Fix. Now, all I can say is wow about this new information that has been revealed by Dateline about the Brian Kohberger case. Jury selection in Kohberger's death penalty case is scheduled to begin on July 30th. That's less than 3 months from now, and it's not that far off. With the trial that close, this trove of new information has come out, and it was aired, as I mentioned, on an episode of Dateline. It revealed Kohberger's Google searches for pornography, selfies he took of himself wearing all black, including hoodies, and searching several times over 3 months before and after the murders for serial killer Ted Bundy. Now, prosecutors could possibly use the searches for pornography about a woman being passed out to point to a possible motive. Dateline also revealed who investigators believed was the intended target that morning and the order in which the 4 students were killed. We'll talk more about that in a bit. It's actually something we've discussed here a few times on Crime Fix in the past. Kohberger's lawyers have said he maintains his innocence in the murders of Maddie Mogen, Kaylee Gonsalves, Ethan Chapin, and Xana.
Now, I thought we already, so I'm assuming they said the intended target was Maddie, right? But we already knew that, didn't we? See, the thing is, I don't know if certain things were just assumptions that we've made. Somebody has said it as rumor or something, because clearly these things were leaked. Maybe just the way the information came out was, I don't know.
Kernodle in the early morning hours of November 22nd, 2022. Now, prosecutors have said they linked Brian Kohberger to the murders on King Road through a single source of DNA left on a K-bar knife sheath just like this one. That DNA left on the inner snap of the knife sheath. This knife sheath, the one's very similar to this one, was left next to Maddie Mogen's body on her bed. Kohberger was taken into custody at his parents' home in Pennsylvania on December 30th, 2022. Police have revealed in hearings that he was wearing a black hoodie and they feared he was destroying evidence. So they broke down the door of his parents' house, rushed in, and took him into custody. Police said they could see Kohberger in his parents' kitchen using a drone with a video feed. Kohberger's lawyers have said his parents were zip-tied and Kohberger was taken into custody. And Kohberger, in his own kind of odd way, suggested to the officers that they get coffee sometime at a later date. Kohberger's lawyers have suggested that that is just one example of the way in which he lacks the ability to pick up on social cues because he has autism. But back to this new information that's come out. Kohberger was working on getting his PhD at Washington State University in Pullman, Washington. He left Pennsylvania for Washington in late June. He got his Washington driver's.
Okay, I never heard that his parents were zip tied before. And I don't know why you would hide that. I don't know. I never heard that before, though. You're too funny, Top Hats.
License on July 1st. Later in July, Brian Kohberger went to a pool party in Moscow at the Grove Apartments. We've reported on that in the past. But Dateline reports Kohberger made some women there uncomfortable, including a married woman who had to signal to her husband to come over and intervene. A woman named Holly told Dateline that she exchanged numbers with Kohberger at that party. She said he later texted her about their shared interest in hiking. The text was oddly formal, she said. It read, "Hey, I am pretty sure we spoke about hiking trips yesterday. I really enjoyed that activity, so please let me know. Thanks." Holly told Dateline she got distracted and never responded. The following month, on August 16th, Dateline says Brian Kohberger's cell phone records show he Googled Ted Bundy's name with a typo, and a paper written about Bundy by one of his professors entitled Ted Bundy on the Malignant Being, an Analysis of the Justificatory Discourse of a Serial Killer. Ted Bundy killed women in the 1970s. He went to college in Washington State and then moved east to Florida, killing 2 sorority sisters at the Chi Omega House in January of 1978. He was sentenced to death and executed in 1989. Ironically, Brian Kohberger's mother had actually written to her local paper at the time opposing the death penalty for Ted Bundy.
I remember that.
But that was before Brian Kohberger was even born. That same day, on August 16th, Maddie Mogan had posted a photo on Instagram of her and her roommates. And that very same day, a noise complaint was called in to Moscow police for the house on King Road.
Is this your place?
Yeah.
Perfect. You know why we're here?
And I assume noise.
Noise, yeah.
Yeah.
5 days later, the night before classes started at the University of Idaho, Brian Kohberger was pulled over less than 2 miles away.
What's that? All the Ted Bundy stuff. Right. Yeah, exactly.
From the King Road house. We've told you about that before. 5 days later, Dateline says Kohberger Googled, when can a cop detain you? Lately, I've been seeing some really amazing makeup trends on social media, but no matter the trend, I feel like there's always that really excited drive. They give back and they don't sleep. Recently asked Judge Hippler to bar prosecutors from using 2 words to describe Brian Kohberger.
Our request is that the court not allow the state to label him in testimony as a psychopath or a sociopath, because any kind of testing is unreliable. That would relate to, or that would become problematic within the rules of evidence to do so, and the inflammatory nature of those kinds of labels would.
I'm not aware of any testing that has been done that has reached that conclusion. Am I missing something?
You are not missing anything. There has not been any testing. There has not been any labeling. This, again, is my opportunity to bring a preventative motion to protect Mr. Kohberger's constitutional rights.
We may now know why Ann Taylor made that request. Dateline reports that in late September, Kohberger Googled sociopathic traits in college students. And later in October, Kohberger Googled, can psychopaths behave prosocially? Now, it's not clear if these searches were related to his coursework, himself, or something going on in class. Kohberger was certainly having a rough time adjusting to life at Washington State. He was a teaching assistant, and in early November, WSU faculty met with him about an improvement plan after he met a student at her car and gave her the creeps. After this, there were more visits to Moscow, with Kohberger's car pinging off the cell tower that covered the King Road house. That's something we've told you about many times, that an FBI analyst will testify that Kohberger's phone was in the area of the King Road house on 23 occasions from July until November 7, 2022, and these visits were late at night. No one has ever said whether the car stopped near the house or not. Dateline also reports that investigators found several Instagram photos of female students from Washington State University and the University of Idaho on Kohberger's phone, and that some of those students were friends of and Instagram followers of Maddie, Kaylee, and Xana. Now, when it comes to the night of the murders, Dateline...
Yeah, I hadn't heard that before. And I never saw that picture with the black hoodie either. That's supposedly what Dylan described that night, right? I know. I don't understand the people who, but you know what? That happens every time. There's always people who do that. I think they just want to do that. I think people just like to go against the thing. Look at all the nonsense with that guy. The one with all the tattoos on his face, the tattooed teeth or whatever. Wade Wilson or whatever. Yeah. Look at that. That is crazy. Yeah. I heard that too. Yeah. Brian, the defense says they know who it is. Yeah, I hadn't seen that picture before until this.
Revealed investigators' theory about the intended target, and they also revealed details that only the killer would know. They believe Maddie Mogen was the target, but they don't know when she could have caught Kohberger's eye. They believe she was the target since the killer went to her room, but didn't expect Kaylee Gonsalves to be there, which threw off his plan. Dateline
Really?
reports that investigators believe Xana Kernodle heard the loud struggle between Kaylee and the killer and went to check it out, but then the killer chased Xana to her bedroom where she fought for her life. And then Ethan Chapin, asleep or passed out in the bed, was killed with one knife strike to an artery and his lower legs carved in some way by the killer. Dateline quotes investigative sources as saying the killer sat down in a chair in Xana's room exhausted, leaving impressions from blood on the chair before leaving the house, walking past surviving roommate DM, and speeding away, leaving the neighborhood. Later that morning, after 6 a.m., Dateline says Kohberger called a phone registered to his father 3 times, talking one time for at least 37 minutes. Then his phone showed he returned to Moscow for a time after 9 a.m., but then went home. Later that morning at 10:31 a.m., he snapped this selfie giving a thumbs up in the bathroom mirror. We showed that photo to you nearly 2 months ago when prosecutors filed it in a motion. 3 days after the murders, Dateline reports that Kohberger Googled the University of Idaho murders for the first time, and then Googled his own name. He followed news of the case, watching at least 60 items about it, including pieces on law and crime and other YouTube channels. He took more selfies in black hoodies and even watched a show in December on YouTube called Ted Bundy, The Essence of a Psychopath, and watched another show about the murders, comparing the murders to Ted Bundy with Kaylee and Maddie's photo on the thumbnail. So to talk about all of this, I want to bring in Josh Ritter. He is the host of Courtroom Confidential on YouTube. He's a former prosecutor.
Okay, this guy is the one who said he was very surprised at what they brought out.
With the LADA's office and currently a defense attorney. Josh, what are your thoughts on the sheer amount of information that Dateline aired the other night? It just seems like an incredible amount of information to come out before trial, weeks before trial.
Yeah, Debbie.
Yeah, it was wild. I was not expecting that at all. And as you continue to watch the Dateline episode, it kept on coming. It wasn't like they had a couple of brand new revelations. It seemed like the entire episode just was filled with really shocking and very detailed and what I would call kind of insider information on all of this. I mean, we received details even to the point of what they believe took place inside of that home. And to your point, I'm curious how much of this is information we're going to actually learn at trial and what of any of it might be admissible.
Yeah, I was wondering, will some of this even be admissible? Will some of it even be deemed to be relevant by the judge? I mean, there is talk about searches for pornography. I mean, I think that the state could present that as potential motive evidence. Why else would somebody go into a house with, and target one bedroom potentially of the night with a girl sleeping and passed out when there turned out to be 2 young women in there? I mean, that could be motive evidence. Or it could be something that comes in during the penalty phase if they get to that point, if there's a guilty verdict. So these are all things that the judge is going to have to determine whether or not they're admissible in the first place. And then the selfies on top of that.
No, you're absolutely right. And I think you nailed it when it comes to the point of motive. Motive, in my view, has always been the biggest question mark that the prosecution is going to have to answer in this case, and that we haven't really heard much about. Here or there, we've heard that, perhaps he may have driven by the house previously, that maybe he had some overlap with the girls inside of the home from the community at his college. but it wasn't really clear as to why. Why was he targeting this house? Was there anyone in particular?
That always frustrates me because honestly, sometimes there's not a motive. Right. A lot of people do this stuff because they're just sick. They're crazy. Right. Yeah, that part is really weird. If true, like you said, that's going to be part of this investigation of finding out who leaked, because how much of what was said is actually true. Hey, Frazzle, good to see you. Hope you're feeling better. And you're right, though, they don't have to prove motive. They don't. But people seem to really want one. Right. Yeah, but I feel like they really are able to find people who don't pay attention to stuff. Yeah, I heard that. And they are going to be sequestered.
Inside of that home that was the target. And you're right. I think a lot of what we're learning may provide insight into all of that. The idea of the pornography that he was looking at, was this some sort of fixation that he had? The idea that he was looking at and had saved and had a large cache of right. images on his phone that were taken of other young women that happened to right. have a connection to the girls inside the home. But nothing that I heard in that Dateline episode that still shows a direct connection to any one of the girls inside of the home. But it was certainly much more information on that front, the issue of motive, than we've heard before now.
Yeah, it's interesting because we've repeatedly heard, and even Judge Hibbler has said, the digital evidence doesn't show any connection between Kohberger and the victims. But this sounds like there's potentially a tangential connection if there are indeed photos of their friends and Instagram followers on Kohberger's phone. And so there was also mention of something we had reported a week or two ago, that the state has an expert that says that there was some anti-forensic wiping of something going on his work computer at WSU.
Right, the pool party. Yeah, I hadn't heard of that. Yeah. That was definitely news. I never heard about that text message, the hiking, none of that. It was weird. He was awkward. That's pretty clear.
In the days before and after the homicides, which is very interesting. So if you're the prosecutor and you're sitting at home on Friday night watching Dateline, is this giving you heartburn? I mean, this is the biggest case of Bill Thompson's career. He's at the end of his career. He was supposed to be retiring. Is this giving you heartburn? I can't imagine, with a non-dissemination order in place, that he signed off on this, but maybe, who knows? We don't know how this stuff came out.
No, I think you are getting heartburn. I think you're throwing your TV dinner at the screen. You're very upset by this because, and remember too, this case had come under such scrutiny for its media attention that they moved it all the way from upstate Moscow, Idaho, down to Boise, just to try to address the issues of the amount of attention that this case was getting. This is only going to exacerbate and accelerate all of that interest. And yes, if this is not privileged, but private investigatory material that you had not released yourself and that you have a very close-knit group of investigators and you know exactly who has access to this information, and you're making sure that that's not being disseminated, to then see perhaps that information itself or, second degree removed access to that information being put on television, I imagine they were probably very furious with it.
See, so that was before the hearing today. So that, now with all due respect, if he has Asperger's, he will be socially awkward in social settings. I deal with some actual diagnosis. Yeah. No, I really only meant to say that in the way that when that stuff comes out, I mean, that was already kind of proven. He appears to be socially awkward. A lot of people are. Yeah, I didn't mean that about anybody. Yeah, that's not necessarily a bad thing, But like I said, that text message, the way you worded it, I word shit pretty messed up a lot of times. Sometimes I reread the text and I'm like, I'm pretty sure they have no idea what the hell I'm talking about. Right. Nor does that mean that anybody that is any indication of doing something like this. I just mean whenever, there's so many times that we've seen he just comes off like he's very awkward. But yet I don't know if he comes off that he's nervous. Now, what did they say about him using a drone in the kitchen of his house? What was that about? I'm going to go back. Did they say he was? I'm going to go back and listen to that again.
And on July 30th, that's less than 3 months from now. And it's not that far off. With the trial that close, this trove of new information has come out, and it was aired, as I mentioned, on an episode of Dateline. It revealed Kohberger's Google searches for pornography, selfies he took of himself wearing all black, including hoodies, and searching several times over 3 months before and after the murders for serial killer Ted Bundy. Now,
oh, okay. I wondered if I had misunderstood what happened there. Okay. Right. And I don't know that it actually is part of it. I'm just simply saying that was an odd text that he sent that girl. And we've seen stuff like that from him. And I think the reason that in some way that is maybe been part of it, because I think there was some kind of anger with him that, girls didn't like him, or he didn't, what's the right word? He was jealous or something of not being able to fit in with some kind of crowd. He wasn't really good with the girls. Where a lot of people say they find him very attractive, I don't personally. I think his eyes look scary to me, but maybe I wouldn't have thought that prior to all this. I don't know. But he could really harbor a lot of anger that girls didn't, reciprocate. But either that's the motive, or he was wanting to be a serial killer. He was wanting to do, I don't know. Obviously, I don't know. They do look evil to me. They do. They look creepy. And I feel like I would think that no matter what, but maybe I wouldn't. Right, Top Hats. If it's true. This is going to be very interesting, this trial. You just wonder about, with everybody, the way they sealed so much of this stuff for so long. I've been very surprised that more hasn't gotten out. And I saw something recently about Steve Gonzalez has said a lot of things that people hadn't known before. But the judge is pretty clear this was somebody part of the investigation. So how do you know there was anger in those searches? I don't understand. I missed that part. Thanks about the drone, because I'm like, what the hell was that about? Yeah. Right. Oh, okay, Queen. I'm like, I don't. Oh, right. Okay. See, that's what I mean. He really, he did have anger over girls rejecting him. Yes, he did say that. He did. Yeah, he recently has come out with some things that I had not heard, and other people had said that. Okay, let me see. That her head. Yeah. Oh, okay. Oh, they're not? Well, I would think that part of the gag order would be not that you wouldn't be able to tell them either. But he says something here in this about what he's allowed to say and not allowed to say. I'm telling you, I should check mine too. A lot of times I look back and I'm like, what the hell? Yeah, this came out this was 2 weeks ago. Wow, I just watched it the other day. No, I think you're right. I think you're 100% right about that. What I was saying is, I think that the gag order would mean same as telling anybody, would also mean telling the family that they're not supposed to tell anyone, not Dateline, not anybody. I mean, I don't know how they could hold him to that, right? They've been very, very close to the vest on this one the whole time. Right. Let's listen to some of that. This was pretty good, I thought.
Steve Gonzalez, the father of Kaylee Gonzalez. How are you doing, my man? How's it going?
Doing good. It's been a good day. I just got off being on call, so it's nice to get my schedule back. And it's a good day, and it's almost summer here in North Idaho. Weather's looking nice, so it's nice. It's nice, and I got good news today, so it's a good day.
Yes, sir. That's it sounds good. It's out here in Texas. It's getting warm, and so I can imagine it's I guess a little bit cooler up there up in northern Idaho. You mentioned some good news today. I'm not sure how much you can go into, but more or less, what kind of news would that be?
We got some word that there was some paperwork that came out. I believe there were subpoenas, but don't quote me on that. I don't know exactly what they were, but there's paperwork that came out that asked people to be prepared to go to court. So take that as a sign that Hitler's tight schedule is something he put together, and it looks like it's gonna happen. I'm kind of reading between the lines a little bit, but I can't say that that's a bad sign. So I'm glad that it's another thing that made this day a pretty good day.
Yes, sir. I've been I'm excited. It's wrong. I've been liking what I've seen out of Judge Hitler. Not to say anything bad against Judge John Judge. It's just
Okay, I guess it is. I know. I was actually surprised too. I didn't know DT meant meant that. Right. Yeah, didn't they get are they the ones that were carrying on with that woman that said her daughter went there? That got real crazy. Oh, see, I didn't know. I watched some stuff about Kylie Rodney on YouTube, but I don't even know specifically who I watched at that time. I didn't have anybody. Oh, I don't know what they did with that. Hey, Tony. So was that the one with the mom that said her daughter went there and her daughter told her all this stuff? Is that what you're talking about, Tony? Yeah, that sounded crazy from the beginning, all along. But you know who else went for that? Okay, I guess we won't. I didn't know. I didn't realize DT stood for that even. Remember, Olivia went along with that. Yeah, it was really disgusting. Olivia went along with that. Remember, Olivia, that kind of surprised me. And especially so, I guess what I've heard is that Olivia is dating Kaylee's brother. What do you mean we're talking about fake true crime? What do you mean? I'm surprised they were okay with her doing that. Because that just that was crazy. Okay, Tony, I just said I didn't know what DT meant. I don't know drunk turkey. I don't know him. I don't know the guy. I never watched that before in my life. And I'm not a fan of Olivia's either. I'm surprised that she would be dating somebody whose family's involved in it after she went along with that. That's what I'm talking about. Right, where I'm not doing that. I don't think much of her either. Even if she actually does do well with editing and making videos, but she hangs around Betty way too much. I can't trust somebody like that. Right. I never believed that at all. I thought that was disgraceful the minute I heard that. It sounded ridiculous. Right, right. Yeah, she did hang with Betty. Right, right. No, I'm not going to play Drunken Turkey. I didn't even know about Drunken Turkey. So yeah, that is the end of it. So I guess we will see what happens with the investigation on that. See what happens when what the judge comes up with. He's looking at getting a independent investigator. So we'll see if he comes up with something and somebody gets in trouble for it. I personally don't think it's going to hurt the trial, but I don't think it is. I don't. Exactly. No, that's exactly right. Of course he's hurting. It's going to be crazy. It's horrible. Yeah, I think there's a good chance. I actually thought that before too, that it could very well be the defense. Whoever did it though, they know they're going to get caught. So this doesn't make sense why they would do it. No, it definitely does. I don't think I could as a parent. A lot of the parents have been very quiet. I definitely think that it's they are gonna pull anything because they know they well look, they already have pulled all kinds of stunts. Yep. Yeah, and they could definitely have, an investigator that worked for them that they could throw to the wolves easily. Maybe, I don't know. I'm very interested to see how that turns out though. Right. Well, that's the crazy thing. Yeah, the way she's asked for them to not even be able to use certain words. There's been so many things that's caused. I mean, what's going to be aggravating is if it causes this to stretch out any further. To drag it out any longer. I feel like that's not going to happen, but I don't know. I mean, you got to give her some credit, I guess. I mean, it's a death penalty case, and she really is giving it her all. Really? Well, how are you going to do that, though, Top Hats? Like, what is there? Yeah, you know what? It seemed really odd, right? I think, Top Hats, didn't they already tell us, like, the way that they had said that he came in there, it didn't seem, that didn't make sense to me quite a while back in the beginning. Right, everybody deserves a good defense. Hold on one second, this dog. Here, come on. Well, that would be something they have completely kept under wraps, Top Hats, because I did hear that too, but I think I just assume they're going to try to bring one like it. They've kept so much stuff. Oh, these dogs. I know. Oh my God. I'm not. Oh my God. Anybody want a Chihuahua? Because yeah, wow. I don't, wow, Top Hats. Maybe they do. I mean, they've literally said that they don't. Well, somebody has said it. That would be wild. That would be really wild. It would be awesome. Yeah, I don't see Brian as being a shabusiness. He definitely likes to do whatever he does privately. Like he's right. I think for me, I think there's a lot of evidence from what we understand. Now, today he said that the defense said they have a suspect. That they didn't say who the suspect was. They have their own suspect. That ought to be very interesting how they're going to manage to pull that out. And I haven't heard anything, any kind of. I do too. Yep. Exactly. I think that well, they have. I think they have a lot of evidence, but I mean, seriously, for him to have Googled that before the police were called. I mean, like Jerry said, if I didn't already, I already thought he was the right guy, but that was really big. That was a bombshell. And Googling himself, his own name and shit. That's what they said today. We'll see. That's going to be very interesting. But I know it wasn't me. I wasn't anywhere near there. So I'm good on that. But I'm going to get off here. Okay. I will be back soon. And I hope everybody has a great night. Check out the babies. And I will see you guys later. Love you. Thank you.